Hey guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing. Welcome back to another zombies video on the channel. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic day. Where today, I don't know why I'm telling you the date, it's the 8th, but it snowed outside. Finally, I'm not 10 anymore. Eli, you're 19 now, grew up, but welcome back to another video where today we are doing a zombies Q&A. As always, if you enjoy this video, a like rating would be very much appreciated, but of course you don't have to if you don't want to. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest zombies videos on the channel, and also click the bell notification icon next to it as well. As I'm sure you guys who are always first to my videos will know, I reply to as many of you guys as I can, usually the ones who comment first, as in actually comment early, not actually comment first. Don't comment first, it's pointless. But I try and reply to as many of you guys as I can who are part of the notification squad. But with that out of the way, when you're ready, let's get into it. So as always, these videos are made on what you guys ask me. So the first question of today comes from Phantom Deadlock, and he or she says, please explain about the Magua. I'm really confused about him. So I still wonder why many people don't know about the Magua or where it comes from, but apparently they don't. I've explained this many times in loads and loads of videos about the Apothicons and their origins. I think I've even done a full story of video on the Keepers and the Apothicons, I can't quite remember. But I know I've said this many times, and still a lot of people always ask me specifically about the Magua, what he's about and where he comes from. So I'm going to quickly give you an explanation. So the Magua, just like the Meatballs, the Parasites, the Furies, the Magua is an Apothicon. All of those creatures, all of those baddies belong in the same group. They all come from the same place. They're all basically the same thing, they just look different. So then I suppose the question would be, well, where do the Apothicons come from? Well, eons of years ago, there was only the Ether, the Keepers, Dr. Monty, and the Shadow Man, and they all lived together. But soon enough, a part of the Ether became infected, it became corrupted, turning into the Dark Ether, and then some of the Keepers began to mess with that bit of the Dark Ether, and when they did that, it began to infect their minds. The Dark Ether got in the minds of the Keepers, turning them corrupted. And now that these Keepers were evil, they then began to fight between one another. The evil Keepers fought against the good Keepers, and so the War of Argotha broke out. But as we know, eventually the corrupted Keepers were defeated and banished back to the Dark Ether. But over time, over the period that they were trapped in the Dark Ether, those corrupted Keepers in there slowly began to morph and change, until eventually they resembled nothing of their former Keeper selves, turning into the Apothicons. Some of them had loads of eyes, which are the Meatballs. Some of them had 3 heads, which is the Magua. Some of them had wings, which are the Parasites. All of these are Apothicons, they just looked slightly different. So that's exactly what the Magua is. And I just want to quickly clear up, like I said, I know a lot of people know this already, but to me no question is well, there are some stupid questions, but no question to me is stupid, so ask me whatever you want. I don't tend to answer questions that I've answered already, but if there really is someone, even if it's one person out of 1,000 who doesn't know something that their other 999 do, I will try my best to answer a question specifically, even if it's just for one person, because I just want to get everyone up to date, unless I've answered it 100 times already. Kind of linking into the previous question, Tristan Lieber, is that how you pronounce your name, says, what are the Meatballs' real name? And that's a good question, because actually we don't have one. It's clear that they're based off the raps from multiplayer, just reskinned, but they weren't given a name in, or when we first saw them in Shadows of Evil. We were told the name of the Magua and the Parasites by the Shadow Man, but he never told us the name of these, whatever they are. So over time we've just called them the Meatballs because, well, that's what they look like. I mean, what even are these? We don't even know what these things are. They've got eyes everywhere. They've got 1, 2, 3 different mouths, 4, 5. They've got tentacles. I don't even know what these things are. We haven't even had a name from them. Again, they are an Apothicon. I know that some people call them the Insanity Elements. I don't know if that's their official name. I don't believe it is. It could be, but like I said, everyone just calls them the Meatballs. The next question from Jack Zeltner says, why on Mob of the Dead does the Weasel say Nikolai, Nikolai, Nikolai? Why do I keep hearing that name? That is a good question, and I wanted to answer this for a couple of different reasons. One, I don't think anyone's actually properly truly answered this. And 2, no one's actually brought this question back up since we finished the comics, because in the comics we learned a lot of information about Mob of the Dead. So before we had the comics, the reason for this could have been was that we knew Richtofen went to Mob of the Dead to collect the blood vials of both Sal and Finn, and so we thought that possibly when he went there to get these blood vials off these characters, he met up with them, he spoke to the Weasel and possibly mentioned Nikolai in whatever he was saying. And so when the Weasel's in purgatory, he just keeps hearing Nikolai's name going over and over again in his head. He doesn't know where this name's come from, but we could have said that Richtofen mentioned it to him when they met up. But we now know, since we've had the comics, that isn't the case. Richtofen never met up with the Mob of the Dead crew. When he travelled to Alcatraz to get the blood vials, he went down into the laboratory where all the medicine would have been kept in the prison, and he obtained the blood from there. He didn't meet up with any of the characters in order to obtain it. Richtofen didn't come face to face with Finn, Billy, Sal, or the Weasel. They never met. And so this question as to where the Weasel heard Nikolai's name in the first place is still a mystery. We should also note that he says this when you pick up and shoot the ray gun, but still, even with that, that doesn't really explain why the Weasel would know Nikolai's name. The ray gun was created by Maxis. Maxis, obviously the leader of Group 935, and Nikolai was traveling to the different Group 935 bases, but that doesn't explain why the Weasel should be saying his name, or even where he would have heard it in the first place. Honestly, I don't really know. If you guys have an idea, please let me know in the comments section below. That's definitely an interesting one, but I'm not exactly sure. I mean, the only place that I could think that maybe the Weasel would have heard Nikolai's name is before he was put into Alcatraz. We know before this he was a con artist, he was a Weasel, he was also a bank robber, he did a ton of heists in LA, and we know that in between the time of Origins and Shadows of Evil, or the Giants, our 3 characters of Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey were traveling around different universes to different locations, killing different versions of Richtofen. We know that Dempsey went to the moon, he went to Brazil, France, they went to loads of different locations, I'm guessing so many more that we don't know of, just to kill these different versions of Edward Richtofen. So is it possible that a version of Richtofen was in America? Somehow that caused Nikolai to come close to the Weasel and then they could have met, or somehow he mentioned his name? I honestly really don't know. I'm just trying to put some crazy theory out there, but there has to be a reason behind it, and as far as I know, it hasn't been explained, and it's just one of those few mysteries that we have left in zombies. So much has been answered, but there's still quite a bit out there that we just don't know of, and this, I think, unless you guys can tell me with proof, is one of them. The next question from LockSnow2304, it's snowing outside. What a coincidence, what a fantastic guy, I love you. Why are our 4 main character pictures at Kino, but it's the first time they went there? So the way you worded that was just a little bit mixed up. I'll put it in simpler terms. You're basically asking me, why are there pictures of our characters, Takeo, Nikolai, Dempsey, and Richtofen in Kino der Toten? Why are there pictures there if they'd never been there before? Even Richtofen, a member of Group 935, had never been to Kino. He didn't even know that place existed before we went there in-game for the first time. When we played Kino der Toten, that is the first time Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey have ever been there, but they have pictures of themselves in that facility. Why is that? Now again, just like the previous question, this is one of those that we still haven't had answered. We don't have an answer for. Of course we can come up with theories, but there's nothing concrete. Obviously, Kino der Toten is a Group 935 facility. Richtofen worked for Group 935 at that time, and he was kind of a high-ranking member at that organisation. He was Maxis's, who was the leader, he was his assistant. He was the assistant to the leader, so Richtofen was quite high up. And so that could be one reason why he has a picture, but that doesn't really explain itself since Richtofen never worked at Kino. Richtofen didn't even know that Kino der Toten existed. Maxis wanted to keep it a secret from him. Maxis went here to create his undead army for Nazi Germany, and since Maxis knew that Richtofen wasn't going to be happy about this, Richtofen wanted to get on with building the teleporters and his wonder weapon, but Maxis instead wanted to create an undead army, and so to keep it a secret from Richtofen, he went here on his own. And so for that reason, it's weird as to why they would have a picture of Richtofen, let alone Takeo, Nikolai, and Dempsey in a facility that he never knew about. It's really weird. One of the only possible theories that I could come up with is maybe these were placed here by Dr. Monty. I mean, you've got to ask yourself, who else would place these pictures in this facility? The only person you could see is Maxis, but that wouldn't make sense. And so I've got to say, this has to have been Dr. Monty, right? We know at this time in Kino der Toten, Dr. Monty was present, he was watching Group 935, he was watching their work, he was intervening slightly, but he didn't have too much of an influence, and so he could have put these pictures of our 4 characters there in Kino for whatever reason. I don't know why he'd do that, but Dr. Monty is the only character I could see doing this. And that could also make sense with the blank portrait. We know not only do we have 4 pictures of our 4 characters, we also have a 5th picture hanging on the wall of a mystery blank character. And whenever you press the interactive button on this picture, the characters will say different quotes about it. Takeo will say this. He says, "What was is no more, but shall be again." Takeo says that about this blank portrait. He's obviously talking about whoever was in here, whoever's supposed to be here, is no more but shall be again. And that to me kind of reminds me of Dr. Monty, or maybe the Shadow Man. What was is no more, meaning, well, Dr. Monty did exist millions of years ago. He was very active, but then over time he's become inactive. And then when Takeo says he shall be again, was that a hint towards Dr. Monty becoming involved in our storyline again, which was Origins. You could also say that quote links to the Shadow Man. What was is no more, meaning the Shadow Man used to be present, then he got turned into a Apothicon and banished to the Dark Ether, so he was no more. And then he shall be again because he did find his way back into our universe with the Apothicons. So again, that's a strange question. We don't have a specific concrete answer, but we can come up with theories. And they're about, I think, the best and most rational ones I can give you. But let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Anyway guys, there we go. That is all I have for you for today's video. Hopefully, as always, you have enjoyed. If you have, a like rating would be very much appreciated. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Click the notification button and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.